This is Get Off My Lawn Live. Join us as we talk trending topics, world and local issues, and the conversations that we need to talk about as people. Get Off My Lawn Live is a Nighthawk Network presentation. Good evening, everybody. Eric Buckner here. This is Get Off My Lawn Live special edition. We are here this evening, quite frankly, because something very disturbing has happened today here in the state of Michigan, and I feel compelled to discuss it. Having this platform where we discuss issues of the day and things that are going on here in society. This is something that I most definitely need to speak on, and I definitely want to hear the opinions of you as well. That's why I've reached out to several of you via the Facebook Messenger in the hopes that you will tune in and or comment to what's being talked about tonight. We're basically going to discuss the incident that happened today here in Michigan involving Oxford High School. Unfortunately, there will be some who will look at this as, well, it was just another school shooting. That in itself is part of the problem, people. We have to stop viewing this thing as it was just, it happened again. We have to start working toward why it happened, why it shouldn't happen, what we need to do to ensure that it stops happening. There was once upon a time when people like myself went to high school and these things did not happen. We did not continually have these mass shootings in school. Were there incidents? Absolutely. Were people getting shot and killed? On occasion, yes, that did occur. But did it happen in our schools? Very rarely, if ever. Now it seemingly happens every other month, every other week, it seems. We are having an incident involving school shootings and a variety of such. And somewhere down the line, we need to start having these discussions so we can figure out why it's happening and what we can do to stop it. So I put it on myself to get the dialogue going. Granted, we don't have a large viewership here, but we do have enough people to where we can have this discussion, and hopefully this leads to other discussions amongst your peers to where we can start getting some things resolved, because clearly our government is not implementing things that we need to help. We are not getting the right amount of support from our local leaders. They can only do so much. In the end, it starts at the ground roots, and the ground roots are us, the people, us, the parents, us, the administrators, us, the students and teachers. We have to figure out why these things are happening and figure out what we can do to resolve these issues if we can. So that's why I'm here tonight, to talk to you, the people, about what's going on. So for those of you tuning in and you're not exactly sure what happened, you haven't been keeping up with the news today, I do have a couple clips courtesy of News 4, and they will explain pretty much what happened today in this unfortunate incident. So let's see. Here we go.
To pick their children up over at the Garden Center. The Myers is north of the school. Jason Colthorpe is there. I know you've been talking with parents. Jason, give us the very latest.
Actually, I don't want to show that video just yet. There's a reason why I have this video as well, but this is the initial video I want to show you. So hold on. Give me a second while I readjust that. Okay, here we go.
I want to bring in NBC's Megan Fitzgerald, who is covering this for us. And Megan, I understand from officials on the scene as we are getting this briefing just in that the three people killed are believed to be students. Do I have that right?
Yeah, that's absolutely right. The unfortunate news just coming in from authorities that, as you said, 3 students believed to be among those who died. We know a total of 6 people were shot. One of those individuals, we understand, is a teacher. This all happened just before 1 o'clock at Oxford High School. This is about 45 minutes north of Detroit when this shooter opened fire with a semi-automatic gun, according to law enforcement officials. But there was a school resource officer officer who was already in the school, who was able to apprehend this suspect within 5 minutes. But understanding that over 100 calls came in to 911, a frantic scene, of course, when you hear guns going off inside the school building there. Police responded immediately with SWAT team, a large response. Buses, we understand, are now taking students home. But a horrifying scene unfolding inside Oxford High School, where we know that there is a suspect in custody right now, no one else that they're looking for, and the gun has been recovered.
Do we know anything about the community or the area where this happened, Megan? Where specifically is it in Michigan?
Right. So, yeah, it's a good question. And to give you some perspective here, it's about 45 minutes north. So it's in Oxford, the community of Oxford. So really just outside of the suburbs of Detroit. We know that this is a tight-knit community. In fact, I had an opportunity to speak with someone who's very familiar with this community and saying this is a close-knit community, of course, excited and getting ready, like many communities across the country, for the holidays. Hanukkah already underway. Christmas just around the corner. When a gunman opens fire inside a high school in the middle of the school day.
So yeah, that's a gist of what happened. A few updates since that story. That was one of the initial stories that broke earlier today. What we do know is that this young person who was the shooter is 15 years old. He is currently in custody. His parents were notified and came down to the juvenile detention center where he's being held. They advised him not to speak to anyone, and they are currently getting a lawyer to defend him at this point. The parents are not to have said much, but they are cooperating with the authorities. Their home is being searched, and other things in regards to the social media of that young man is being checked into as well. Right now, we know that 3 people are dead, 8 people are injured, 6 of them presently hospitalized, 2 of them to be undergoing surgery at this point. The rest are in stable condition. The high school, of course, was shut down, and many of these students were advised as to where to go. In terms of that, one of the good, thankful things we have is that this school had been doing drills in regards to what to do in case of an active shooter. So many of the children were versed as to what to do in the event that this happened. So fortunately, because of that, many lives were saved. It was said that basically the shooting went on for about 5 minutes, and eventually that the young man surrendered to authorities within the school. Now, there's a couple things we need to point out here. First of all, this is Oxford, Michigan. I know the way news and media is set up when they have these discussions about this story as it goes. Sorry about that. Little technical problem there. But yeah, it is said that this happened outside of the city of Detroit. This actually happened about an hour outside the city in a whole different township. So, of course, the narrative will be, yeah, this happened in Detroit. No, it did not. No, it did not. And understand, many of these shootings did not take place in a large metropolitan area like New York City or Chicago or Detroit, Houston, et cetera, et cetera. Many of these shootings are occurring in rural areas, in a place where a lot of people are said to move because they want a better life for them and their children. They want more security. They want better police and better fire departments and such. But despite all that, these things happen in those communities as well. Let us first point that out. There is no safe place right now here in the United States in terms of gun violence. It's happening everywhere. It's on the rise. It is on the rise. In fact, over 30% overall for the year in terms of overall gun violence. Obviously, school shootings are going up. This is one of several that has happened this year alone. We have to point out that, yes, the vast majority of these shootings are by people who are male, but then also understand these people are not male adults. These are male children doing adult things. Basically, this young man, allegedly, because we have to put that in there at this point, has taken the lives of 3 people who will never see another day on this earth. Those people went to school today with the understanding that I'm just going to school. And that's what I'm here for, and that's what I'm here to do. But unfortunately, those people are not home, and they never will be home again. And the parents of those people now have to go through the rest of the holiday season without their children. Remember, in this life, the way the circle of life goes, we are meant to bury our loved ones who are older than us, not the ones who are young. As a parent, your worst nightmare is to find a situation where your child is no longer here, and now you have to deal with the fact that they are gone. As a parent, you're not supposed to have that reality. It's supposed to be the other way around. That's how the circle of life is supposed to go. But yet here we are, people, and what are we going to do about it? Is it going to be important? Yes, I understand this is an impromptu show, so I don't see a lot of people in the audience at the moment, but I do hope people are. I did send out the invitation to several people in the Nighthawk Network, so if they are available, they will perhaps pop in and have some discussion in regards to that. For those of you who are on the VIP or MVP list, so to speak, you know you can come in. I will send you the link, and you can come discuss as well if you choose to. Basically, right now, I'm here to talk. I'm here to talk to you guys if you choose to talk about it. I'm here to have you listen if you just choose to listen. But the point of the matter is there's a few things wrong with this picture, okay? First of all, this is a high school of 1,800 students, okay? Let's start there. $1,800 students in a high school in a suburban America. And also understand that this high school has had, in recent days, threats involving possible violence. They've had incidents involving vandalism. They've had an incident involving a deer head, an actual deer head being placed within the school grounds. There was definitely some things here to look at and to analyze and to figure out, do we have a situation here? And based on what we're being told at the moment, the administration felt like these were all just people just, and yes, there are lots of social media posts these days pointing to possible violence. When we get to school tomorrow, I'm going, and some of that is just internet bullying at its finest, just a little talk. But some of these are credible, obviously, because now we're here. Now, should we be concerned? Yes, because there are bigger fish to fry in this story. That's only part of the situation, folks. Let me play this video so you gain a better understanding of what we might be dealing with here.
See people.
Yeah, this is actually Trayshawn and his mom, Robin Redding, who Trayshawn actually didn't go to school today. I haven't gotten a chance to talk to him. He was actually just briefing police on what is believed to be kind of the threat that was leading up to this. Trayshawn, just a second, I'm going to start with your mom. Walk me through what this was like as a parent and explain. Trayshawn didn't go to school today because of a perceived threat, correct?
Well, he didn't go to school today because he was just not feeling comfortable with going to school. He had a conscience of saying, like, I don't want to go to school today, Mom. Can I just do it online? So I just said, okay, yeah. But then before him saying that, he said, Mom, none of the rest of the kids is going today. And I said, why? The rest of them not going? And he said, no. So I said, okay. He said he wasn't answering because all of them always say, I'm ready, I'm up, I'm getting on the bus, or meet me here. That nature, and that wasn't happening today.
And why was that? Was there an uneasy feeling about the kids had today?
That was just an uneasy feeling that he had and didn't want to go.
I just got like a little feeling that like when I got up today, like I text me and my little cousins because I'm a senior, like they're like a little bit younger than me, so I text them and I was like, is anybody up? Who's going to school? Like, get up, let's go, we're going to school. No one responded, so I'm like, this is weird. Like, we never do this. Like, either like somebody's sick or like something's wrong. So I'm like,
what was worrying everybody? There had been some ominous threats posted in recent days. Is that right?
yeah, that is right. That it is. I've been hearing the threats too, and it's like, kids, they play around and say, oh, we're gonna shoot up the school or this. You don't supposed to play around with that.
Right.
Like, this is serious. You can't do that. So I mean, like, it's a lot of stuff that's been going on. This school, it's been tragic, and it's like, I don't even know. It's just.
When you heard about what was going on at school today, you weren't there, but then you learned there's an active shooter. What was going through your mind?
My first thing when I got up, I put my shoes on, put my coat on, I told my mom, come on, let's go. I have a friend. He's more like my cousin. I think of him as my cousin. And I said, he's in there. He's the only one that went to school. And I need to get up there to get him out of that school because I don't want anything to happen to him.
And he is okay?
Yeah, he is fine. He's at home. He's a little bit scared, but he'll be okay. This has been crazy.
Now, the threats that we have been talking about, I was just talking to the undersheriff again about that. They're looking into these threats. There was something posted about a deer head. Tell me about that.
That happened probably like a month ago, which is like somebody cut off a deer head, his neck, about like around his neck.
An actual deer head.
The actual deer head, blood and everything, and threw it in our courtyard in our school. Which you have to get inside the school to get in that courtyard, and it's outside. And they drew all on the buildings on the wall looking for our principal. They want to talk to our principal, ask him where he is. I mean, it's a lot to this. I mean, I don't have all the details, but
and they're still investigating. Nothing's confirmed if it's connected to this sophomore who pulled the trigger today. And as you guys got here, you saw a couple of the students come out, and I don't want you to name any names because they're still notifying people. But how is that hitting you, knowing that you know some of these kids that were shot today?
I mean, it worries me a lot. I mean, I grew up with these kids for so long. I've been going out here for almost 4 or 5 years now. And I know of these kids that they're hurt and they're sad and their parents don't know what to do, but it's gonna be okay. God will heal everybody. Everybody will be fine.
We're certainly glad you're okay. And Robin, from a parent's standpoint, talk to me about safety. Do you feel safe letting Trayshawn go back to school here?
No, I do not, because they haven't got this under control. If all these things are already happening, you never know what might happen again. And I'm not finna risk my child being able to get hurt. So I would prefer just to have him online. I'm not sending him back to the school. There's nothing that nobody can say, oh, you going to school. Oh, it's over. You don't know. You can't predict anything for that to happen. So no, I'd rather for him to go online. My condolence goes out to the family and the staffs and all the, the kids that were injured into this and all the trauma ties and things that then cause all those students and staff.
And I've seen a lot of parents today, and they are definitely in a state of shock.
Yes.
Is it that way for you too?
Yes, it is. That's why I was up here I can't. I mean, if no one else is gonna let their voice be heard, then mine is gonna be heard. Yeah. You got to be able to get these kids under control. They have to. They have to get this whole thing under control. Security is a must. You can't say that it won't happen. This can happen anywhere. Yeah. So yeah, I'm not sending my kid back to no school that he can't even sit down and get a lesson to know that I'm gonna get a phone call and say my child been shot or it's a shooting. No, that's devastating. It's crazy.
I can only imagine you must have been thanking God that your son did not go to school.
Yes, I was praying all the way, thanking God, a blessing. So, hey, you gotta listen to your kids, and he was very firm of saying, I'm not going. Yeah. So,
Robin, we're glad he's okay, and thank you both for talking to us.
You're welcome.
We appreciate it.
So yeah, there's a lot to unpack there. So let me go there. Of course, some of you popped in and popped out. I'm hoping you guys pop back in, or at least you check it out later on in the show, because it's very important what's being said and discussed here. Understand, here we are. It's a normal day. You're not expecting anything like this to happen. You're not expecting to pop on the news and see this story take place. However, in many schools and many districts around the country, we are having that story. Just like we are looking at it here live, there are other places across the country that are seeing this story. And my concern and the reason why we must have this conversation is because right now there's a young man or maybe even a young woman at this point that's looking at that and saying, I can't wait till I do that too. They don't know yet, but I'm about to pop off too. In fact, that might even encourage them to do so. That is part of why we need to be concerned. If you listen to the young man in this story, understand I am not a psychologist or anything like that. I just kind of get a feel about certain things. And the thing that concerns me is I feel like he knows more than what he is saying in regards to that. Remember, he told his mom very firmly, I'm not going to school today. Now, I don't want to go to school. I'm not going to school today. I just got a bad feeling. I just don't feel right. And I call all my cousins and friends, and they saying the same thing. We're not going to school today. Those kids knew something. Either they knew something or they knew enough of something to understand that something bad was going to happen today. That is not a normal feeling. That is not something kids normally have a feel about. As my sister says, always follow your gut. If it don't feel right, it's not right. And that may be it, but I really think these kids knew that this young man was going to carry out this threat today. When we go back into some of these other stories of school shootings and what eventually happened, we learned that some of the kids thought that these particular individuals that did these things eventually had some issues and that they had the potential to do so. It would not surprise me if they knew this young man had a gun. And understand the weapon, as we know it at this point, is a semi-automatic handgun, of which he shot at least 15 to 20 rounds and shot at least 8 to 10 people that we know of. That is not normal 15-year-old behavior, folks. Kids talk, so I'm sure they knew something was going to happen. And like I said, I've been looking at other reports from other news sites, and they were talking to other students, and they all seem to have some type of inclination. There have been threats going on in the school throughout the last several weeks. Some of them were reported to the authorities of the school, some of them not. But the kids are saying, yeah, we knew something was going to happen. They're saying if you go on a lot of their internet sites now, they're discussing it on their YouTubes and Instagrams and TikToks and whatnot. So they definitely say they want to talk to the students in regards to what happened today. But this is not the only school where these discussions are being taken place. The parents and the administrators may not be taking these things seriously, but clearly these students are. I know so because, in fact, when I first found out about the story today, I was in presence of a young person just coming home from school, and their reaction was, and I quote, actually, I'm surprised that hasn't happened at my school yet. That is what that person said. And just as calmly as I'm telling you, that's as calmly as they told us. So trust me when I tell you, we got problems, people. We got many problems. And this is just one of them, unfortunately. But it is a big one because remember, the children are our future. And if we allow them to grow up in a society where it becomes normal to have school shootings and training for school shootings, where we have to install metal detectors in every last place that young people go in so they can't be completely living a normal state of being. They have to live in a state of anarchy, a state of martial law, so to speak. This is not normal behavior. When we went to school, these are not things we had to worry about as much. Yeah, they did at some point install metal detectors in the school that I attended. Because yes, there were weapons, but rarely was there a weapon that was utilized in any way. Yes, remember, I went to Frank Cody High School, Detroit, Michigan, noted for a particular incident that happened many years ago called the McDonald Land shooting, where basically to this day, the McDonald's where it once stood is no longer gone, but the one near it is known as Murder Mac. Known as Murder Mac because of what happened that fateful day. in a situation where no, I did not know what was going to happen, but several students did, where actually I was in possibility of being in that incident had it not been for a couple slight changes of plan that day. I could have been very much in that McDonald's that day when the incident happened, and I would not be here to talk to you today. So understand, these things are happening in our high schools and even our middle schools, even our elementary schools. There was recently a story about a young man who brought a weapon to school and was seen in a backpack. Fortunately, they got him and got the weapon before anything could happen. Pretty much he was just carrying it just to be carrying it, but even still, think about what could have happened there. Parents, understand, part of this is on us. Not so much us because I'm not a parent, but I say us collectively. Because we need to do a better job of understanding what our kids are thinking, what they're actually going through in their life. Kids talk, so I'm sure they knew something was going to happen. Exactly. We have to know that these kids have a life outside of the house. And that life may be far more chaotic and hectic and stressful than we know. If we don't have regular conversations with our children, we oftentimes don't know what they go through. A lot of times nowadays, we talk about how the parents, they basically want to be your child's friend more than their parent. Because of that, we give them a certain amount of cachet and freedom that we as children did not have. That may not be such a wise thing now. Once upon a time, I was a person that was very against children having phones in school, a phone of their own at all until they got of age. But now I realize, based on this incident and others, that you have to have your children have access to phones. Understand, within 5 minutes of the first initial shots, the police department there in Oxford received over 100 911 calls, many of them from within the school, telling them what was going on. Within 5 minutes after those initial calls, the police arrived to apprehend the young man. Imagine if they did not have that access, how much longer that could have went on. It said that the young man had several magazines of bullets available to him. So his intentions at this point, for what we know, is he was going to shoot multiple more people. So thank God that people were able to call and let the police know, we got something going on here, please help us. Otherwise, it could have been significantly worse. Understand, we're going to have a problem if we find out that, people are saying this was going to happen and the school didn't do more to nip it in the bud. I point out the Bloomfield Hills School District here in Michigan, for example. They recently had incidents involving racial slurs that were being written on the bathroom walls. And that led to them having a discussion with the students, staff, and parents in regards to what they can do to better analyze and monitor what's going on in these situations to ensure that these things aren't happening and not leading to bigger problems. Early this year, there was a young man who basically was being bullied in school, and he took a handgun to school and shot students because basically he was tired of being bullied. And this was his way of retaliating against the bullying. We don't know if this is the case in this story, but I will say, based on what I've seen and talked to and heard thus far, not only is this going on in that particular school, but it's going on in other schools, not only in this area, but around the country. And we got to start paying better attention. It's got to start at the grassroots. It's got to start right there in the house. There should not be at least a few days that go by when you do not have some type of significant conversation with your children in regards to what's going on in their school or in their lives. Your children should not have full cachet to be completely non-transparent when it comes to certain things. Yes, now I am for children having phones, at least high school students, but I'm also for those phones having full access to their parents so that your child should not have a password that you are not allowed to have. There should not be anything on that phone that you are not allowed to see. There should not be anything in that person's room that you are not allowed to have access to or know about. Because trust me, it can happen. This is me, E.A. Buckner. I lived in this house I had my own room on the floor where nobody else stayed but me. Trust and believe. There were things in my room that if my parents found out, they may be a little ashamed, but they wouldn't have been worried. Just stuff that normal teenagers would have, pornographic materials and the like. But imagine what I could have had, because I promise you, as far as I know, my mother never accessed my room. Never even bothered to go up there at all for hardly anything. So for all she could have known, I could have had all type of weapons of mass destruction and the like in that room, and she wouldn't have known a thing. My mother is not alone in that. There are many of you parents that, as I see here talking right now, that need to think about this. It is not my place to tell you how to raise your child, especially if I choose not to have one. But understand, for those who constantly ask why I am not a parent, why I chose not to have kids, this is a great part of why. I do not want to have the worry and concern that many of you have when you leave your children to other devices, where you cannot be around them 24/7 to know what's going on, when you have to leave them to the world to do. That's why I check everything, phones, closets, under the mattress, as you should, sister. And anybody who is saying different than you and I, you are wrong. Plain and simple, you are wrong. It is your primary job as a parent or guardian to raise your children in the ways of the world and to have them be pillars of society, to know right from wrong, to be safe, well fed, well taken care of, to the best of your ability. You are not doing that if you're allowing your child to just go freely into the world without having any discussions in regards to what the world is about, without understanding the stresses and stripes of what's going on, without knowing on a daily, if not weekly basis, what your child is doing in school, who their friends are, who are the people that hang out with them, what their teachers are saying to them. These are all things I feel you should know as the parent of that child. And you as a child, you need to talk to the parents. Don't just assume they don't understand. We all have that one shared experience, whether it be child now or child before. We all have been children at some point. And the vast majority of us have gone to school. So we know what it's like to get bullied or see someone be bullied or to be the bully. We have all been there. So yes, in terms of that, we can relate. Can relate on a cyber bully or internet level, not so much, seeing that we didn't grow up with the internet. But we need to have that understanding, okay? For those of us who didn't grow up with the internet, guess what? We need to get hip real quick. A lot of things going on in this world, and it involves these little things, these components, this hardware, this software, this interface, the user interface. I am learning IT technology in the hopes of possibly getting a job in it eventually, but I'm also learning it because I need to gain a better understanding. I need to be able to help my fellow people understand what's going on in terms of these cyber systems, so that we as the older people don't use the excuse of, well, I don't know nothing about this computer stuff. Well, guess what? If everything works out as it should, you'll at least know one person that does. So if you need help, we're here to help you. That's part of what my Nighthawk Network is about, helping others, particularly people of a particular age, because a lot of us don't have the resources that our younger counterparts have in terms of help, in terms of understanding. But I do need you to know some very important things, people. Listen and hear me clearly. When you think it's not going to happen in your neck of the woods, oh no, that stuff don't happen where we live. Don't believe it. Don't believe it. Because I promise you, just like I looked up that story to show to you from the tube known as you, it already has 27,000 views, folks. That first story was at 2 p.m. this time. It already has 27,000 views. And guess what? That weren't all adults looking at it, okay? Trust and believe. That were not all adults looking at that particular story. So depending on what the thought process was for the people that looked at that story, there is that. Some people may have seen it like, doggone shame. Some people might have seen it like, okay, yep, I hope they don't find out about what we about to do. I promise you there's somebody out there right now thinking that. And if they're not thinking it today, they may come to that thought process soon after. Now, you listen to the mother in that story, and she was asked point blank, is your son going back to that school? And she says no. And I'm telling you now, there's a possibility that somebody will be like, okay, well, no, your child has to go back to school. And because you live in this area, he has to go back to that school once it opens back. The hell he shouldn't. The hell that should ever be an option. If you as a parent do not like the high school that is located near your school or near your house, you should not be required to send your child to that school. And in some states, that is not the case, but in some states, that is. In some states, you don't have an option because that's the closest high school in hundreds of miles. But in the end, if your option is to teach your child from home at that point, from this point forward, you should be completely within your rights to do so, and you should be provided the necessary materials to make that happen. Part of why I do not choose to be a parent today is because I don't want that. I don't want that for me. I don't want that for the person that I impregnate and reproduce with. I don't want that for the child that we bring into this world. I don't want to have to be the one to tell them, look, you're not doing all that because I don't trust what may happen to you. And for them not to understand because all they know is what their little friends is telling them. Or your parent is tripping. They own you too much, what have you. That being said, let me introduce my brother into the room. Brother Derek, good evening.
What's up, everybody? What's going on?
I wish we were here under more quality circumstances, but unfortunately, you know what we're discussing here. We are here to hear your thoughts, sir.
I don't, I don't know. It's just like, you just keep on thinking to yourself, is there anywhere safe that we can go anymore?
Well, let me ask you this. You're a parent. Granted, you're not a parent of children that are school age anymore, but you are a grandparent and all of that. What is your thoughts in regards to school safety?
Safety most definitely is not at the level that it should be in schools.
Absolutely not. And it's sad because, are we at a point now, bro, where we need to have metal detectors in the elementary school, the preschool, the middle school? Do we need to have guards standing there with guns posted like this is a third world country? Like, don't do nothing bad today. We're watching you.
It seems like that. Not unfortunately, it would be fortunate that. But it would have to be a universal thing because how can you pick and choose what schools to do it in and what schools not to do it in?
True. And I would say based on that, that's where our government comes in. But when it comes to things like that, they tend to eventually have this, no, I don't want to touch that because that's the NRA, that's this group, that's that group. Yeah, you don't want to do that, do you? Oh, no, we don't want to do that. At some point, the money got to stop talking and common sense got to take over.
Yeah, and unfortunately, you would think that let's be real, you would think that common sense would have took over after Sandy Hook. You would have think common sense would have took over after Columbine. You think the common sense would have took over after Vegas. Come on. How many of our children are we going to have to lose when everybody, white, black, blue, green, orange, purple, yellow, and whatever, can say, God damn, enough is really a fucking enough.
Right. And Parkland and so on. As one of the sheriffs said today, this is basically putting us in a club we didn't ever want any membership in.
Right.
Basically, the club where okay, the shooting happened at Columbine, at Parkland, now at Oxford. That is not how you want your community to be known for. Where they shoot kids at.
And unfortunately, it's going to be like either you're going to have to initiate some better security things such as maybe metal detectors. I don't care what it is. It has to be to the point where parents have to feel 100% sure that their children are going to be safe in school.
And my thing is this, as I pointed out earlier, I don't know if you missed that part of the conversation or not. I was telling them that I have no desire to have any children ever, and this is part of why. Do you blame me for that? What's your thoughts on that?
No, and in this day and time, having a child is like, one time you always worried about your son, but now if your children at home at the phone ring and your children not there, God, please don't let it be that cold.
Now, here's the thing: they are doing an investigation in regards to this. The plan is to basically talk to anybody that even have an inkling as to who that young man is in school. They say it's possible we might interview everybody that attends that school. If we want to find out to the degree that we need to find out, do we say, hey, pull out your phone, let me see your social media, I want to see if you wrote anything about this or what have you? Do we go that far in the investigation?
Um, According to your circumstances, I would say hell yeah.
I wouldn't bring another child into this evil, and it's hard not to feel that way. Like I said, I honestly feel that way right now. What up, though? That's sad as hell. What happened? Exactly, coach. And I definitely hit you up because you are a person who works in the school, so you understand this as well as anybody. There are things happening there all the time. It's a very fluent situation. There's the occasional, okay, I don't like you, you don't like me. We fight it out, and that's that. But then there's these situations where it goes beyond the realm of just a simple school fight, and now we are at the point to where we are bringing weapons to school. You're here in the area, Coach V. You know about the situation that happened at the East High School earlier this year, where basically they had a gang fight in the middle of the lunchroom involving dozens of students, and basically there was threats about that going on days beforehand as well that they did not take credibly. So now you have to shut down that high school for the rest of the week to figure out what's going on. Oxford High School at this point, I don't see that school opening back up the rest of the semester. They definitely need to go virtual. And before they even consider opening that school back up, there needs to be an assembly with every last student and parent that goes to that school, and they need to have some discussions because there is something going on at that school. And if it get to that point, that is why we need to talk about.
Well, they also most definitely have to bring in counselors for the students and the staff.
Right.
We
Now
can't.
that
We most definitely can't leave out that part because do that situation. You may have children who don't want to ever go to school again.
and at this point, me being me, I always try to put myself in the position of who is involved. Like I said, we all have that one common thing. At one point in life, we have all been young people. We have all been students. Me, myself, I would never want to go to that school again after today, especially if I was anywhere around that, and most especially if I knew that young man, whether it was good or bad, whether he was my friend or one of the people he was threatening to shoot. I wouldn't want to be nowhere around that. There are people surrounding the high school right now, hours later, because they still need to determine whether he was the only person involved. They're literally doing a head count of all the students to see who came, who didn't came, who might still be in the building, all of that. That's
They
not
don't.
what you
They
have
don't. They don't know if he was the only shooter.
at this point. It is assumed he is, but there is no way to know that. I mean, bottom line, ever since Columbine, you have to consider that possibility because remember, there were several children involved in that day. But according to their initial plan, they planned on doing that multiple days. And there were other people, some of which we never knew what their intentions was because nobody spoke up on it. Not to mention the people, oftentimes when they do these shootings, what do they usually do in the end? They do themselves, so we never get the full story.
Yeah, but my thing. I mean, now I know they're going to check into other people involved. My thing is, I need them to find out what. But was he the only shooter? I mean, I'm everybody involved is important. To bring this together. But my question is, was he the only shooter?
At this point, from what we know, yes, he is the only shooter. He had a semi-automatic handgun with several rounds on his person. He shot at least 20 rounds that we know of at this point.
And then you're gonna have to dissect this to the point where you have to dissect this boy and get into the shoulda, woulda, couldas, the who, what, when, where, and why. Was he bullied? Is he mental? Blah. It's
Well,
It's
again, for the sake of the audience that just joined us, I want to play this video again because it's important what was being said here. All right, check this out, bro.
No, this is weird. Like we never do this. Like either like somebody's sick or like something's wrong. So I'm like,
what was worrying everybody? There had been some ominous threats posted in recent days. Is that right?
yeah, that is right. That it is. I've been hearing the threats too, and it's like, kids they play around and say, oh, we're gonna shoot up the school or this. You don't supposed to play around with that.
Right.
Like, this is serious. You can't do that. So I mean, like, it's a lot of stuff that's been going on. This school it's been tragic, and it's like, I don't even know. It's just.
When you heard about what was going on at school today, you weren't there, but then you learned there's an active shooter. What was going through your mind?
My first thing when I got up, I put my shoes on, put my coat on, I told my mom, come on, let's go. I have a friend, he's more like my cousin. I think of him as my cousin. And I said, he's in there. He's the only one that went to school. And I need to get up there to get him out of that school because I don't want anything to happen to him.
And he is okay?
Yeah, he is fine. He's at home. He's a little bit scared, but he'll be okay. This has been crazy.
Now, the threats that we've been talking about, I was just talking to the undersheriff again about that. They're looking into these threats. There was something posted about a deer head. Tell me about that.
That happened probably like a month ago, which is like somebody cut off a deer head, his neck, about like around his neck.
An actual deer head.
The actual deer head, blood and everything, and threw it in our courtyard in our school. Which you have to get inside the school to get in that courtyard, and it's outside. And they drew all on the buildings on the wall looking for our principal. They want to talk to our principal, ask him where he is. I mean, it's a lot to this. I mean, I don't have all the details, but
and they're still investigating. He's confirmed.
Okay. Now, again, let's unpack some of that. You hear with this young man. On the one hand, he's telling you what he feels you should know. But on the other hand, there's things he's not telling you. You could look in his face and see that there was a greater fear there. That is why he told his mother this morning, I'm not going to school today. I don't want to go. Why? I just have a bad feeling. And all my friends, I've called them, and we usually meet up, and none of them are going. I'm not going. This is what he told the mother, okay? That's not normal. That's not normal. And she said this is something he never has done before. Tell me that young man didn't know something.
Well, I mean, they said that the threats and things have been going on over the internet all week long.
No, he said the Deerhead incident actually happened last month.
Right,
now,
but I'm saying,
okay, this is a high school in America.
Right, but he said during the week that there has been that students have been putting out threats. Right. So it's not like the school didn't have some sort of inkling that something could possibly happen.
Which gets to my point. Okay, you have a deer head put on your campus. In other words, not in front of the school, not on the side of school. You literally have to go inside the school and go into the area where you can see, from the inside, like they have like a little atrium or whatnot. And that's where the deer head was found. In the middle of the school. That means somebody actually walked into said school with deer head, put the deer head in the atrium along with the messages thereof. That happened a month ago. Do you not think?
I was confused. I thought he said that they threw the deer head in a courtyard because there's a fence there and you can't get in.
Yeah, the courtyard is the atrium that he's speaking of. Oh, well, hold on. Take over. I got somebody at the door here.
Okay. So we go. I mean, this is a horrible situation. There's so many aspects of this situation that we don't know. Unfortunately, we're gonna have to wait until we get some more concrete information. This thing is going to be a hot topic, and you do ask yourself that question: do I want my children to still go to school? I mean, they need their education, but this is it's like to the point that it is like getting so scary that it does, and the thing is that I think sometimes that the school system, to me, this is just me. Maybe I'm. Oh, I think the school system should take any threat of bodily harm to anybody should be taken seriously. I mean, if they saw it and was on the World Wide Web, it should be brought to the school's attention, and they should investigate it as soon as possible because it's like, but should they have metal detectors in school at this particular point in time? Yeah, and if any parent have an issue with that, I don't know why. I mean, they're gonna have an issue if you pat their children down. So I mean, we got to figure out a way where we can know without a shadow of a doubt that our children are somewhat safe. And the way things are going now, just having those officers in the schools at this particular point in time is just not doing enough. We need to get those metal detectors or whatever else them as they call them resource officers just on enough.
Right. I mean, remember, we have school systems where they have programs like ROTC and Junior Officers Club and whatnot. Why can we not recruit some of these people that are like literally on the ground of the situation to come along and say, hey, this thing they're talking about, I think is true. So-and-so says so-and-so. And part of the problem is we are in this whole don't snitch society. All our rap buddies teach us don't snitch and doing all that. Perhaps if somebody snitched today, those 3 young people that are no longer with us would be alive. If that young man did know something, that's part of probably why he's not saying anything now, because the question would be to him, why you ain't say nothing? You know why you didn't want to go to school today. It wasn't no feeling you had. Somebody told you something and you believed it. That's why you and your friends decided not to go. I'm pretty sure we will find out in the days to come that there were several young people that didn't go. And I'm sure he's going to be not the only one saying, I just had a bad feeling.
I mean, if you look at it, it's kind of like a two-way thing because they said that and said that they had a bad feeling, but they also said that there was threats being made. So maybe those threats was the thing that gave him the bad. Gave everybody in that circle must have knew about the same threat.
Bottom line is maybe the school officials didn't take the threat as credible, but clearly some of the students did.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. Like I said, if the students know, I'm sure some of the parents know because some parents, they do talk to their children. They do have understandings with them. When that mother said, no, I'm not sending my child back there, that's based on, yeah, she knows some stuff too. And I don't blame her.
Even if I was a parent and I didn't know no stuff, I wouldn't send my child back to that school.
Shout out to my auntie. Thank you, auntie. But yeah, they did ask if he had been bullied. We still don't have that information yet. But in many of these cases, that is the case. They are bullied. But once upon a time when we were bullied, either we let somebody know or in the end, we dealt with it like these. And that was the end of it. We're not taking guns that's capable of killing hundreds of people at a time to school to solve our differences. That's where the real problem lies. Now, this has become a problem that, quite frankly, you don't see in other countries. There's maybe 1 or 2 incidents that I've heard of in the last 10 years involving school shootings outside of the United States. This is a here problem. And this is not a here problem. This is not a her, him problem. This is a here, all of us problem. And all of us need to start considering it now. Not just the places that have urban plight, not just the places that are places where there are farms, everybody.
It's there, and then you gotta ask yourself the question, as a parent, it's some parents like here, some parents are hypocritical, because they'll let their child carry a gun to school, but they don't want a police officer be in school with a gun. You're not making sense to me.
None. Zero. And then, like I said, they say there are many cameras in this school. So there's camera footage. Now understand, the internet being what it is today and young people being who they are, I would not be surprised if somebody on their little phone has footage of him actually shooting people. And that comes to the light of day momentarily. Hopefully, if that does appear on Facebook, Instagram, the light, they have common sense enough to delete that from the platform as soon as possible.
Yeah, see
Yes,
here,
we would like to know what went on, but certain things we do not need to be broadcasting.
yeah, I think here in Baltimore, resource officers, police officers, whatever, um, they've been fighting for eons for them not to carry their guns. So I think once they get to the school, they put their guns in a lockbox or something. And but I'm like, okay, but if something kicks the fuck off, this police officer got to run all the way to the office. But by the time he get down there and do all that, the situation is done.
Right. As I reported earlier, over 100 911 calls went to the office. Fortunately, they had facilities down the street. Within 5 minutes of the initial shots, the person was apprehended by officers. But imagine if it wasn't. For those of you saying, well, that would never happen here, we such and such and such, that might actually be worse in your case. You might live in a county where the school is located 30, 40 miles from the nearest law enforcement agency. And this thing happens, and there's nobody there that has enough, basically enough firepower to stop it from happening.
Yeah,
What do you do?
If you live like in rural Virginia, where every house is like 20 miles away from each other, and there's one school, and people are being bused 20 and 30 miles a day just to get to school. So yeah, it's gonna take a longer
Right.
time.
Understand? I heard something, and I can't be totally mad at it. One parent once told me, "Yeah, my child, I'm not worried about them. They got something for that." What do you mean they got something for that? You know what he meant. We need to go and have our kids pack a lunchbox like that now?
And then and then the thing with that is, everybody is not, even though the law states as such, everybody is not mentally capable of having a gun. Period.
Yes, some people should never own a gun. They should never even
Ever
touch
in
a
life.
Okay, so presently the president is talking about the shooting now. He did speak on it earlier as well, Auntie.
But I
go
will
ahead.
give him props. He has been addressing situations as they occur, not waiting 2 weeks later, not waiting through, and I'll give him his props for that. But this story again, this is going to be another story. I guess everybody's still waiting for the breakdown of the victims and how many were Caucasian, how many was blah 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 blah. Do they have any of that information yet?
No, we have yet to get that. There is going to be another press conference at 10:30 this evening to give us further information. Lord knows the last thing we need for this to be is a bullying situation based on race. If this is what the story comes to, whether the young man who did the shooting is white or black, my assumption is he's a white teenager. But even if he isn't, it's still tragic. I feel bad for his family because in the end, ain't nobody sent their child to school saying, "Here, take this." They bully you, bop, bop, bop. Even in the story I just told earlier, they didn't tell the child, be pulling it out. They just told them, take this in case something transpires. So the fact that you need to have that thought process in 2021, that is part of the problem. Shout out to my brother who delivered my package and basically told him, you will never be an uncle this way. Because I cannot. My child, they'll be right here in front of this computer every day from kindergarten on. I could not have my child out here like this. I couldn't.
When they come up with the breakdown of everything, everybody's thought process is going to be somewhat different than what it is.
Hey, friend Amy, thanks for checking in.
Once they give the racial breakdown, everybody's thought process is going to be a tad bit different than what it is now, because we're so out there. We know basically the basics. Period.
Mm-hmm. Now the sad part is today when they report that in the national news on whether it was MSNBC or CNN, Fox, I watched them all. This was not the top story. It wasn't because, of course, we do have a bigger problem going on, but also because this has become such a commonplace thing that we look at it different. The night Columbine happened, that's all they talked about for weeks. This will probably get some play in the news for a few days, and outside of the local area, it's going to get buried right back. Okay, today, Amy, we're talking about the shooting that occurred here in Michigan. There was a high school shooting here. 3 people have been killed. 8 have been injured. Basically appears to be another one of those situations where a student was having an issue with other students and chose to take a weapon to school to resolve the issue. So that's what we're talking about. We're basically talking about the importance of talking to our children and giving them an understanding that this is not good, that if you feel unsafe, if there are people saying things, you need to let people know. Just don't snitch, don't tell stuff. It's bullshit. And normally I don't use profanity on the air, but in this case, I have to make that important exception because I need y'all to fully understand how I feel. It is bullshit and it has to stop.
It does. It does. It does. But like you
A
say,
lot of us are saying, I hope he's not black. And sadly, we shouldn't even have to think like that, Auntie. But in the society, the American society we live in, yes, we have that thought process. I'm sure there's white people saying that. I hope he's not white for that same very reason. But my whole thing is I'm hoping that we gain an understanding. I'm hoping that someday he talks about it.
no, I can, I can, I can't hear. Excuse me. This is a joke, so y'all don't take me wrong. I can't hear a lot of white people say, "I hope he's not white." I can just hear a lot of people saying, "I hope he was black."
Yeah, I can see that as well. And then, of course, there's also a variety of other situations. We're hoping it's not a religious thing. We're hoping it's not a gender thing. We're hoping it's not a sex thing. We've heard
Well,
them
let's
all.
let's hope it's not an Asian person that was bullied.
Let's hope it's not any of those things because in the end,
Ooh,
especially if
that's
we
why I
find,
say. That's why I say once we get this other information, you know, those things right there, the who, what, when. Well, we probably would never. We're probably gonna take us a couple of days to get to the why. But right now, holding on to who, the who's who in this situation is like will take this whole situation to a
right.
whole nother level.
Right, and sadly true, Amy. In fact, most of the mass shootings in the last 10 years, the shooters have been white males, period. There are very, very few, if any, shootings involving women in terms of mass shootings. Do you notice that? That's something we need to analyze. Why is that? It's not like women do not know how to use the guns, but for whatever reason or rationale, they are choosing not to contend with the situations in those ways. However, the men are. Is it a situation where men are able to access mass weapons easier than women? What is it? What exactly is that situation and why that is the case? That's definitely something that we need to research. We're researching so many other things these days. I definitely need them to look into that.
Yeah, I know for a fact that if we look into the look into the mass shooters, I could probably say with some sort of certainty that most about maybe 85 to 90, maybe even 95% of the shooters were Caucasian white men.
But see, the bottom line, regardless of who they are, what they are, how old they are, we need to get to why it's happening and what we can do to make it stop. This cannot be a narrative that we keep finding ourselves in. There's, like I said, young people out here right now looking at that story on the internet and saying, okay, I got to make sure that when I plan mine, I do it different. Or, okay, well, I know now to wait a few weeks because they're going to be looking. And then I'll go back to doing it. There's all types of little thoughts going in their head. Meanwhile, unbeknownst to the parents and the loved ones of them, they are thinking these things. If your child has that thought process, we need to stop it right here before it happens. That's why it's important to have these conversations now. We as the village of the people. It don't even have to be a conversation you have with your mom and dad. If you don't feel comfortable talking to them young people, please seek out your grandparents, your aunties, your uncles, your trusted internet providers, whatever the case may be. Nighthawk Network. If any of y'all ever want to talk in regards to that, we definitely will make that happen for you. I promise you.
This conversation most definitely have to be had, because it's like, how can we continue to say that the children are our future, and every time we turn around, they're leaving up out of here?
We're going to mess around, and we're not going to have no future because the children are going to be gone. Period. And like I said, what future are we leaving them when we are not giving them the proper instruction as to how the world should work once we gone? In
And,
the
you know,
end,
it's sad.
we
And
are
it's sad
not
to
teaching
say.
the kids what we need them to know. They are learning by the third parent. They
Yeah.
are learning by bad examples that are causing them to make bad decisions.
Yeah, and mostly things that they do in their everyday life. Like you
Right,
said, like the phone, like the tablet, like Fortnite, like like this. But that's why we have to make sure that we have a serious. I mean, a serious. I'm not talking about hey, how was school, boom, boom, boom. We need to make sure that we have a serious, open line of communications with our children at any given point in time.
right. And let's encourage them that if they can't talk to us, find a medical professional they can talk to. Find a trusted family member. Find a trusted person in the community, such as a pastor or
A
someone along
deacon,
those lines to discuss with.
or or the young lady who's in charge of your local rec center. There's people, but
Exactly.
the thing is, we need them to know. See, the thing is, and I find this with children and adults alike. People only want to talk if they know they're talking in a safe space.
Right.
And and this particular point in time, it's like, where is the safe space?
Exactly. Because see, my whole thing is this. Somewhere down the line, we're gonna become so desensitized to these issues that yeah, one day the school gonna get shot up, and that school gonna decide, okay, just close that classroom off and open everything back up the next day. And about 2, 3 days later, it's gonna be another incident. And those two incidents are gonna tie together. And at that point, we're going to blame somebody.
Yeah, we're gonna we need to get on these things. We need to make these children know that if they see something, they can say something. I mean, and if they have to say it anonymously, then so be it. I don't care. I don't care. John Paul, just like I tell people, everybody look at, this reward is offered, blah blah. I say, but you need to read the logistic. This reward is only going to be offered to you if the person is caught and is convicted of the crime. If they're not convicted, you're not getting nothing. Even if you tell them where they are, you're not getting nothing unless that person is convicted of their crime.
Right. And
Because
it's
like when I found them, well, yeah, that's only half of the battle, honey. So I don't know, Ebuk. I'm like, it's like I told you, I'm remember, y'all got the little, the high school kids. A couple of weeks ago, we had the woman here who was killed in the church. So I'm like, is there a safe place?
right.
Is there?
We had a woman, elderly woman here that was raped in front of a church. I mean, where does it stop? Where does the crazy stop? Where do we as a community at some point say, look, I'm tired of just watching it happen and not saying anything about it. I'm not gonna worry about what happens to me. I'm gonna do the right thing.
Yeah.
Where's that at?
It's. I mean, they society is advancing in certain things. I'm like, the time and the energy and the technology that you take to actually now, when people are going for jobs and they're going for jobs where they're handling money, where they fill out an application, you spend that time to do a goddamn credit check on their application to see if you're gonna hire them. Well, what's wrong with putting in these damn metal detectors and making these people wait the whatever days they need to wait in order to get a gun?
Exactly. And then of course,
it's almost like sometimes you feel as though the same way you could drive through McDonald's to get a hamburger, they got gun stores you can drive through the side window, pick up a gun, and go on about your damn business. But those are just the guns that are out here that are legal. But the issue also falls back into how many people are getting shot and killed with these damn illegal guns.
Well, bottom line, the young man is 15. That's not a legal gun. I don't know any state in the country where a semi-automatic handgun you are allowed to have legally. I don't think there's any state in the country that has that particular law.
It's and like Amy said before, and we've said in the past, we have old laws that need to be revisited.
Absolutely.
That need to be revisited to the point where y'all need to get it on your city councilmen, your aldermen, and this law was made in 1887 before they even had damn stoplights. So how
Mhm.
can you still have this law in effect?
Right. And then, of course, we have this to concern ourselves with. Let's just say that the young man is white and the victims were black. What's the likelihood that there will be some people that come out like, oh, you need money for your defense? We'll loan money to you. We'll help you out.
Oh yeah, they'll come out the yin yang just like they came out the yin yang and basically um finance Rittenhouse, whatever his name is, finance his
Rittenhouse,
damn defense.
exactly. That's why I bring up that very point, sir. Not to mention they financed the 3 men that killed Ahmaud Arbery as well. And of course, nobody's looking into where that money came from and whatnot. As an American citizen, you're allowed to do with your money what you will, but you still might want to know that most of that money came from those type of organizations.
Right. So then, my man, this is just my mindset. My mindset when you do something of that magnitude, that's the same as saying that you support and agree with what this person did.
Exactly.
Because if you, I mean, and this man got hundreds of thousands of dollars for his goddamn defense fund. It wasn't like he got $20 or $1,000. This man got bank for his defense fund.
No. He got over $2.5 million for his defense.
Okay, that's why I say the man got bank.
Still in the possession of him. Now, granted, the story is that he had enrolled into Arizona State University, and since that time they have taken away his enrollment, and probably wise to do so because that's not a young man you want walking around your campus and to have the responsibility of making sure nothing happens to him.
Pretty much.
You know, somebody in that school more than likely was going to do harm to him.
Yeah.
There are people probably across the country that want to. Earlier today, they talked about the story involving one of the people in a case that's coming up, and they talked to the parent. In fact, it was for the Parkland shooting. They talked to one of the parents that's getting the settlement in regards to that shooting because we find out that the FBI knew that there were credible threats that had been made and nobody acted on them. And that parent said in regards to the young man who did that shooting, who's about to come up on trial, and they asked him, what would you want to happen to him? And he said, and I quote loosely, I want him to leave this earth the quickest way possible. Whether that be by the death penalty or if they put him in general population, and what happens, happens.
Wow.
And as a parent, how could you not feel like that? Because your child is gone. But this person's allowed to live. Even if it is in prison for the rest of his life, he's still alive, and your child is not. Your only child at that. So as hateful as that was to say, can you blame him for feeling that way?
No, and if anybody say that they can, they lie.
Exactly. Because if it's your child, and today you there at home, looking at their room, trying to process what's going to happen, trying to figure out the fact that my child's not coming home ever again. That's not a feeling I want any parent to ever have, ever. But if we don't start dealing with these things now, not only will that happen again, but it's going to happen more often to more parents. And I don't want that for anybody, regardless of color, race, creed, anybody. Nobody should have to bury their child ever, ever, ever.
You're right. That's like, but the key is we need to start combating this on the local level. Take it to the, I mean, when I say local, I'm talking about the city level, then take it to the state level. And see, like we say, unfortunately, when we come with situations like this, everybody always want to go to the top. But this grassroots stuff is where a lot of this stuff is going to have to be headed off the head.
So yeah, for those people that don't like to go vote, and when they get elected to jury duty because they don't want to be involved in that, I need y'all to think differently. For those people, when they get that letter about can we get some volunteers for the PTA, I want you to start thinking differently. For those people who basically drop their child off at school and don't think about them hardly at all until 4 p.m. when you assume they're going to come out the way you left them, I need you to think differently. For those of you who are able to allow your child, who has told you, yeah, I'd rather not go to school. I'd rather do the online learning. I need you to think differently. I need us to understand America has many problems right now. I love my country, don't get me wrong, but this is not a perfect country. And we ain't great, and we ain't never fucking been great, regardless of what certain people put out
It
there
ain't
as
gonna
their
be great.
content. And we only getting
Ain't
worse.
gonna be great.
And we only getting worse. But we need
I
to
know.
start to do something to get better. And until we do that, we have these discussions to have.
We sure do. I mean, they have to be had. Just like I say, we at a time now that only time we was, yeah, let's be for real. Only time we were really concerned about our surroundings was at night. But we gotta be concerned about our surroundings morning, noon, and night. Period. Because it ain't nothing for somebody to walk up to somebody and blow their goddamn brains out in the street, in the middle of the street, in broad goddamn daylight.
Just like they do on your video game console.
Right. Pretty much. It's nothing.
Right. So that being said, folks, we're not gonna be on much longer here, but I need y'all all to do me a very important favor, particularly any of you who are parents and you are in the sound of my voice. You see this either now or in a later viewing. Please take the time to talk to your children. Please get to know them on the level of what's going on. And don't accept, I don't know, nothing. You make your child talk to you. Because those conversations may be the very thing that saves their life someday. Someday soon, in fact. Your children don't have the cachet to say no to you. You are the parent. You are their legal guardian. It is your job to keep them safe and to guard over their general welfare. They don't have no say-so in the matter. Stop trying to be their damn friend and be their parent.
Well, honey, I'm sorry. As long as you're in my house and you're a certain age, I'm having access to every goddamn device you have. Do you hear me? I'm having access to your. I'm having access to your yoo-hoo, your boo-hoo, your doo-hoo, whatever. Because at the end of the
Hey,
day,
cuz.
because at the end of the day, I have to know what's going on with my child.
Exactly. Because in the end, should nobody know your child better than you? Nobody.
I'm
There
like,
should
girl,
not be a whole different life that your child is living that you do not know about yourself.
you will get all your privacy when you grown and you move in your own place. Because when you live with me, I'm totally responsible for you. You can call me nosy daddy or whatever the case may be. But I need to know your whereabouts. I need to know I need to know who your friends are. I do call me an overprotective dad, but I need to know who the hell your friends are. I need to know that if you tell me, and they don't make them anymore, but if you tell me you're going to the mall stop, damn it, I expect you to be there.
And bottom line, let me say this for public record as well. In the end, if you're not part of the solution, you're the problem. So from now on, when any of these crimes involving your children happen, when it's time to go to court, I need to see 3 people standing up there. The accused, the mama, and the daddy. And all y'all need to be charged with something. Because in the end, if it's your responsibility, and whatever that child does is your responsibility, you need to meet up to that responsibility in court if you can't do the right things. So maybe that'll teach you how to be a better parent. Let your child know, oh, you can't do that because we all gonna be in trouble.
My point is, I think some of these incidents, and parents may think I'm wrong. I don't know. It's kind of like a catch-22 because I
Exactly,
think some of these
Auntie.
incidents, I think some of these incidents,
What up, Pride?
I think some of these incidents, the parents should be charged with the daggone children. Ooh.
Like I said, in the case of this case right here, with a 15-year-old with a semi-automatic weapon, he got it somehow. If you got it for him, you most definitely better be on trial. And
Oh
even
yeah,
if you didn't get it for him, but it was in your household, you still need to be on trial because you should have known that that weapon was in your house.
yeah. I'm sorry, I can't. I just think, and people say, I'm an old-fashioned parent. I just think some parents in this day and time give their children too much damn leeway. You are a child.
Extremely too much. Ain't no
You are
telling
a
me,
child.
okay, I'll do this after I ... Those are statements you should never hear from your child and them be credible. When I say turn the video game off, turn that damn thing off. And if you ain't turn it off, I'm snatching it out the wall and it's going to my room, and you have to wait to get it back.
Hmm. And if I say be in the house at 10 o'clock, I mean 10 o'clock. I don't mean 10:15. I only mean 10:01 and 13 seconds.
Mm-hmm. And even if you are a parent that don't believe in corporal punishment, guess what? After that 10 o'clock curfew get messed up once, well, I guess you won't be going back out for a while. Period.
Going back out, but nowadays with kids, if you take that phone from them, it's almost like you killing them.
Yeah. But guess what? Some of these kids need to be killed in that way. I'd rather them be dead on the inside than dead for real.
They need to be killed in that way through social media, like you said. I'm at the point now where I just think a lot of parents need to stop and allowing technology be your instant babysitter.
Y'all, no one ever died from a swat on the butt. Say that. Say that, man.
I know my grandma used to always say this old saying: "If it don't kill you, honey, it's gonna make you stronger."
Yep, that is true.
Yeah, and that's what people fail to realize when they talk about child abuse. They talk about bruises on a child, broken bones, and things of that nature. But I mean, I got but now parents just scared to even yell at their damn children, let alone I'm physically correct them.
Right. And if there's laws against that, when you are just trying to reprimand your child as opposed to kill and maim them, maybe those are laws we need to revisit as well.
And giving them black eyes and breaking their arms and all that kind of stuff.
Spatterize, kill the child. And no, that was not a misquote. My auntie is saying exactly how she meant it. Because right now, if it was a few more butt whoopings, maybe that young man would not be in a juvenile facility right now. Maybe he just would have been at home telling his mom and dad, they're bullying me, I need help.
Or maybe this child had open communications with his parents.
And maybe they ignored it. That's a possibility as well. You're right, H2. You're absolutely right.
And a lot of these kids, a lot of their parents be like, oh, what, Johnny is a loner, so I never expect. Well, honey, did you try to figure out why Johnny is a loner? Did you ask him why?
And more importantly, why you accept that of your child that they're a loner? There's certain things about our children, we do need to accept. Thus, not one of them.
Like why do you find it necessary to be alone? Is there any so things like that you need to find out? And it could become somewhat dangerous if your child is a loner, especially in high school, because high school is one of the last schools you'll be in. But high school, in my opinion, is the make you and break you time.
Right.
You know how to deal with bullies. You're gonna learn. You getting your career path together and all that kind of stuff. So that's a very important time in the young child's mental growth, high school.
Right. Okay. Well, let's try to end this on some resolution stuff. Okay. Parents, we've already established. Talk to your kids. Talk to them as often as you can. Second of all, whatever school your child goes to, if you have not physically been in that school, correct that as soon as possible. You need to know what that school looks like on the inside and out. You need to know if that school has a safety plan, not only for school shootings, but in case of emergency, of fire, anything along those lines. You need to know their policy on having phones in class, what they do about students having issues with other students. You need to actually read that paperwork they send to school, they send home with your child. And if you are not comfortable with that, you as a parent should be completely within your right to take your child out of that school and send them somewhere else. I am a helicopter parent, and I don't even care. Or satellite parent, I prefer that term. But basically she's saying, I'm on my children 24/7. I know any and all. And that is a good thing, Julie. And anybody tells you something different, hell with them. You have to parent the best way you know how. It is your responsibility to have your child be certified citizens of society that know right from wrong and know what to do in all situations. So if that's how you got to do it to make it happen, you do that. You have to be in their business. Their business is my business. One more time. You have to be in their business. Their business is my business. Not only is that true of life, that's true of circumstance, that's true of the law. So again, I need to have more legislation where that if your children commit these acts of devilish acts, that you as the parent also stand before a jury to take responsibility for their actions. Bottom line, if he did it and there was no viable reason, there shouldn't be, for killing anybody, that all three of you need to be in somebody's prison for an extended period of time, if not for the rest of your natural life. Period. Because maybe then, if we make enough of those examples, then maybe some of you punk parents will take parenting seriously. And you understand I don't have no kids, and you ain't got no right to tell me how to be a parent. I'm taking my liberties today. Because when these things happen in society, they affect even me. And I am in the business. There's things been going wrong this year. I don't know why, but I'm not going to leave it alone. I will keep meddling because I refuse to stand at her funeral saying I didn't know anything was wrong. I don't want anybody to have that experience, Julie. Nobody. Because then there'll be times like this where you will listen to this podcast and paid attention to what me and Derek and Julie and my Aunt Beverly and everybody else is saying. Somebody need to be in your business if you're not handling your business right. Period.
And you know you have to, because I'll use as an example. I was engaged to somebody. Goes to show you how much you think you know. I was engaged to somebody just to find out here recently. I shared with you that this man has been a fugitive from New Jersey for 14 years. I'm like, wow. And it just goes to show you that you need to be in their business, because there's certain things you need to know. I mean, if hypothetically, if he was living here in my house and the police came here and arrested him, my ass could have been arrested for harboring a fugitive, and I knew nothing about it.
Not to mention, you had a fugitive around your children.
Right.
Something you should know.
Right. I'm like, no. So, y'all, if they call it nosy, say, guess what? I'm that nosy damn parent, and I'm going to be that nosy parent until my child gets out the house and become grown. Because you know what? I don't want my child to be nobody's goddamn statistic.
Right. Well, anyway, folks, we about to get out of here in a minute. I will say, please, y'all, I implore you, watch this show, share this information, have these discussions not only with your fellow co-workers and fellow siblings and what have you, but have them most importantly with your children. Talk about these things. Tomorrow, for many of you, it's just going to be another school day. Before your child goes to school, please have that conversation. I don't want you to have that story to tell the next day.
Hey, Grandma.
Hey, G-Ma, what's going on?
Yeah, that's that.
But yeah, we'll have more details on this story in the coming days. When we do get off my lawn Sunday, we'll have more detail. And if not, then Monday when Derek does the show, look at me. Hey Bitches Live, he'll have more information for you also.
Yes, sir.
These things are important. This is part of why we use these media platforms to discuss with you all, because we are trying to bring light to some of the things that need to be talked about in the community, things that won't be discussed after a couple days on our news outlets and Wendy Williams and such. That's why we are here, to have those discussions. Because in the end, we need to know how you doing, and you need to know how your kids doing. And if they ain't doing good, you need to go in that room right now and talk to them. Do not let their head hit the pillow till y'all have that discussion. That's just my personal thoughts.
Amen.
These are the views, opinions of me, Eric Buckner, and the Nighthawk Network. Those who do not have them, is that viewer discretion is advised, all that good stuff. And I'm sure I speak for my brother when I say that as well.
Oh,
but
most
anyway,
definitely.
Shout out to the Nighthawk Network. I know some of y'all weren't able to come on this evening. We can either talk about it on some of you guys' other platforms, the platforms such as Dish and Tea with Big Meats. They may discuss this at some point. You also have Derek, of course, with the remix with your boy Derek, which will come on anytime. So if he chooses to discuss this later on the week, he will. They also will probably talk about this to some small degree on Stan Mason show Behind the Blue Curtain this week. So please check that out.
Wow.
And shout out to my cousin, Dr. Marla Facey, Lena Miller, Letitia Brown, Letitia Williams, excuse me, Sean Love, Pastor Sean Love, and all the other members of the Nighthawk Network. Shout out to you all. Keep doing up the good work. We appreciate you. Love you. Keep doing what you do. Shout out to everybody that tuned into the show. Shout out to those who are going to check it out and the remix and the rebroadcast. Remember, both you can find Helena Hologram and myself, Eric Buckner, as well as some of the other people I just mentioned on YouTube for past episodes of all of our shows. Feel free to comment as we do check back on the comments to see what's been said. You can also get in contact with any one of us here at the Nighthawk Network by reaching me at the following email address, which is standby. Hold on. They didn't switch stuff around again. We'll talk about that post-production, bro.
Oh Lord, they always switching stuff around.
Yeah. Okay, you can find me here at Night H Network 313 at gmail.com. Again, that's Night H Network 313 at gmail.com. You can send a comment to myself or any of the people in the Nighthawk Network, and I will definitely make sure it gets back to them. Anything else to say before we go, bro?
Nope.
Would you like to promote anything you got going on right now?
Well, we do. Via my audience, my audience's statements. Monday's show, Hey Bitches Live. The show is going to be called Everything Baltimore.
All right. I like that. I definitely would like to have more people learn about your city, my city, and some of the other cities that are being lived in by us at the Nighthawk Network. So very much looking forward to that. And of course, tomorrow, we'll be back on the network with Game Time Audible, my sports podcast with my good buddy Hugh Lee. Shout out to Hugh as well. Hopefully you are doing well. Again, people, it's sad that we had to come on the air for these circumstances and these stories, but again, it's important. We can't just sweep these things under the rug. We can't just get desensitized to them. We can't get to a point in society where it is what it is. We start to deal with it like we're dealing with COVID and everything else. We got to start making a way to make these things no longer be, or at least be less of what they are. I understand these are the last days and these things happen, but we can't just accept it for what it is. We got to try to fix it. Can't. As the song goes, the world won't get no better if we just let it be. The world won't get no better. We got to change it, y'all. Just you and me.
There you go.
So that being said, we out of here. Again, I will see you guys tomorrow. Thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate you. I love you. Please be safe out there. And until next time, God bless, and prayers, please, for the families of the victims as well as the families of the young man who did the shooting. They all need prayers, y'all. Hey, last one.
Amen.
All right. Hold on, people. Again, they didn't switch my stuff. Stand by, bro. And 3, 2, 1. Wait a minute, where you go? There you go. Peace.